about the non-white people who are called sellouts. We are all sellouts because we're all born into the prison system of the system of white supremacy. The system of white supremacy is a prisoner of war system. And everybody who's on this planet now who has color in his or her skin is born in a prison. They have made a prison of the entire planet for people of color. And every white person is eligible to be a warden of the prison. And many of them have chosen to be that, wardens and guards in the prison system. And every non-white person is a prisoner of war. We are born in a prison. We have to understand that. All of the people who were originally captured are all dead. And so the ones, their offspring, were born inside of the prison. If we don't understand that, there is no point in even discussing anything any further. And that's either true or false. We are either in this prison, called the system of white supremacy, or we are not. Now, those who say that we are not, then I have nothing further to say, because the conversation runs out then, because I have already assumed that that's where we are. So what I've said is either true or false. So now, every black person in there who's comfortable with being in prison, I can't really criticize that person because I'm still a prisoner. One prisoner can't criticize another. One slave on the plantation cannot criticize the other slave on the plantation for being a slave when we are all slaves. So we can't use that as a crutch, because that's what that is. To look around and, like in the characters in the movie Gone with the Wind, and say, you ain't the one supposed to say quitting time. I'm the one supposed to say quitting time. But both of them are slaves. Neither one of them decide what quitting time is. Massa, up there in the big house, decides what quitting time is, and what beginning time is, and the time to sleep, and the time to eat watermelon, or the time to sing, the time to have church, the time to do anything. Plantation masters, and the entire planet is a plantation for non-white people right this minute in 2016. Everywhere on the planet, in every area of activity, every minute of every day.
What's up? It's your boy Cab out on KWU TV, and just a message for my woke folks. Just a little bit of knowledge in case you out there wondering, feeling alone. Just know you're alone, definitely, on your quest for knowledge. You know what I mean? And you surrounded, but you just gotta clear your brain and keep hitting them books, keep studying. You know what I'm saying? Don't focus on one certain area. You know what I'm saying? Get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But just a clue, man. Just one of the books you should get. It ain't got nothing to do with religion or all that. It's the United Independent Compulsory Code System Concept by Neely Jr. This book will help change your mindset, for one. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to unlearn all the things that's been going on for generations. So first and foremost, you got to acknowledge that we've been lied to. Right? We've been lied to. If you can admit to that, you're on your way. Alright? So once you know you've been lied to, you got to just take in the information. Take notes while you're taking that information. You know what I'm saying? And then research that information. So you might be watching a YouTube video of one of the elders, the scholars from back in the day, because shit 10, 20 years ago. And we just waking up. You know what I'm saying? Or we might not have been born yet. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that there's so many young brothers that's woke, and the old bitty angry motherfuckers is not woke yet. Excuse my English, but so that's a positive step, and we gotta bring it down. You know what I mean? And focus, man. We are the scientists. We are the alchemists. You know what I mean? Because all the shit that we had, they stole it and regurgitated and sold it back to us. They ain't give it back to us, they sold it back to us. They give us 12 years of slave, 12 years of school, with some basic functional. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see no brothers doing calculus in the hood or none of like that. But you see them being scientists, chemists, whipping the wrist and whipping the Pyrex. Because we naturally scientists. That's what we supposed to do. We supposed to learn about the body and the plants and life. That's what we energy bands, scientists on this planet exploring. So we gotta go pull our knowledge from different places. You gotta remember, they stole our ish. They stole it. They took it, they conquered, they took it and sent it all over the place. So you got the Indians with the chakras. That's part of ours. You know what I mean? And this and that and the Masan and all. So it's out there. You just gotta grab all that knowledge and decipher it. Take notes and create your own and do your experiments.
Them we kill people and rob. Yeah. So consequently, a black child in America is born at dead zero. And he has to now compete with a white child who has 87% what he needs to succeed. And I hear people saying, well, the black child, y'all just not doing it right. That's why our white kids are out achieving. No, it's because he got everything he needs. You don't have anything. That's why he's out achieving you. That's why you go drive around this city, any other city, and look at all the big skyscrapers, the big tall buildings. You go across America, and if you find 5 blacks in the United States that own a building with more than 3 stories, you're lucky. You don't own and control anything. Where are your airplanes and ships and boats? Where are your industries? You don't manufacture anything. All you're doing is consuming. We are 100% consumers and 0 producers in the most capitalistic society on earth. And we have failed to understand because of our marketing people have not told us the truth. Our promoters have not told us the truth, that in a capitalistic society, there is no such thing as consumer power. Consumer power does not exist. You cannot have consumer power in a capitalist society. The only person that has the power is he who is producing has the power. You have producing power. You don't have any consumer power. Consumerism is a weakness. Consumerism comes from the word to consume. Consume means to be eaten up, to be eradicated, to be eliminated, to be erased. And prior to the 1950s in this country, when a black person got tuberculosis, you said he had consumption, which means he's being eaten alive by the disease. And here we are bragging about our consumer power. Go look at all the black magazines bragging about black consumer power. We don't have any consumer power. That's a weakness. We should be taught. That's like going into a black neighborhood and having a crack addict bragging about how much crack he consumes. He's got crack power. It's the addict that's selling him the crack that's got the power. I mean, the drug dealer. It's the drug dealer who's producing the drugs and selling it to him. He's the one that has the power. But we never seem to can get it right. And so we live in a society where we don't understand what the game we're playing in, and we're losing. We don't understand the game because we haven't been taught the game. We don't even understand something simple like racism. I keep telling black folk what racism is. I go around the world and I ask blacks in various countries. I say, two people stand up any place in the room. I'll give you $1,000 if you can tell me what racism is. I've never ever had one that knew what racism was. Never had one. I said, what is racism? He said, well, it's bigotry. It's hatred. It's not getting along with people. It's bias. It's discrimination. All that wrong, 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 wrong. Racism has nothing to do with getting along with people and liking people. Racism is a competitive relationship between groups of people who are competing for the ownership and control of resources, wealth, and power. That's what racism is. Racism never existed on the earth until the 1500s, when all of a sudden 9 European nations decided to use black labor, black bodies, and black wealth out of Africa to get in a race. After Columbus had discovered America, supposedly, in quotes, in 1495, all of a sudden they're going to rush to redevelop the Western world. So all these countries were in a race, a contest, competing to see who can develop North America, Central America, and Latin America. It was a race. It was a race, and everybody was in the race but black folk. Black folk never participated in the race. You were the prize, the boot, the loot that they used to empower themselves. See, they were buying blacks in Africa on a typical for $15 to $20 a piece. And they established a thing called a profit margin, 15% return on investment, 1,500% return. So they were selling for $400 and $500. They got into the United States and to other countries. And that's why the whole banking system started off of slavery in Portugal. Again, and the whole system of capitalism started off of black slavery. Before that was mercantilism. The whole concept that you all are playing in with promotions and what's called marketing development came out of black slavery. And it was designed not for you to profit, but for others to profit. Everybody was profiting initially except you, and it has not changed. And so when I look at your program, and it says that you're marketing developers. Marketing developers. I would say marketing means going into any environment, a site, a geographical area, and promoting a product or a service or a good to get an equal value for it. You're marketing. But it also stipulates in there that to be a marketer, you must have a market. So I asked black folk, where are your markets? Where are your markets? Where is the black market? And they said, well, Dr. Ellis, we got a black market. Where is it? They said, well, it's all over the United States. And that's how much you get. We got a $650 billion black market. And that's a lot of money. Wrong is not. It is not a lot of money. It's only a lot of money when it's aggregated. Scattered through the integration process, your money is nothing. It is chump change. Because we don't plan to have power. That's why we continue to integrate and scatter our money. And then brag about how much money we got. And then we come up with magazines and research to tell everybody where to go get our money and how to get it. Nobody else is that foolish but us. You got to have a license to be that stupid to do those kind of games. You don't tell people how to come into your market and how to sell to your people and take your money and your economy out. That's called a capital drain. When I was assistant secretary in commerce, I took trade missions around the world. Nobody would allow that to happen in their country. We would not let the Japanese come over here and do dumpings, dump their automobiles in Norfolk and in Jacksonville, Florida. That's called dumping, which means you come over and take the wealth out of our nation and doesn't take anything back to Japan. When they come over and dump their steel from Korea, we had a balance of trade policy, so you can't do this. Everybody has a balance of trade policy except black folk. We'll let anybody come in and do anything to us because we haven't changed since slavery. We still don't understand the process. Every day, Burger Kings and McDonald's trucks will come into a black neighborhood and dump hamburgers, Coca-Cola, and take nothing out. That's a balance of trade deficit. This country right now is suffering from a balanced trade because we've allowed it to happen since Bush has been in office. And that's why you cannot profit in the society, because you got a capital drain. Nobody's ever taught black folk how to practice group economics. Your money is supposed to stay in your own country or in your own community and with your own hands and your own people and bounce at least 8 to 12 times. But we are the only people that absolutely refuse to do it. We won't do it. As a matter of fact, we are against spending money with our own people. And we're in that condition because Meritorious manumission taught us in 1710. But a policy was set up in the Virginia colony and then also later into South Carolina. It's called Meritorious manumission. Meritorious means to earn, manumission means to release. So a black could earn his release from slavery if he did one of four things, or a combination, elaboration, or sophistication of those four things. One, if he could prove to whites that he could see things through the eyes of a white person, and he'd prove it by one, saving a white person's life, two, saving a white person's property, three, inventing something or improving the profits that he get from picking cotton and corn or tobacco, or four, if he would squeal on and tell on any other black person who was trying to escape from slavery. That was called Meritorious manumission. We still got blacks in America that's working hard and diligently to get Meritorious manumission. They're working hard to make sure that they protect a white person's property. I don't care, and they protect it by any time you come out with an affirmative action program. I have the dubious honor of being the person that wrote that first affirmative action plan for the state of Florida in 1971 that went all over the country, a comprehensive plan. I didn't write the plan for minorities, poor folk, Asians, Hispanics, Arabs, midgets, humpbacks, lesbians. I wrote it for black folk. But immediately the whole frame of reference is the way you keep black folk down is always to loot and water something and make pretend it's for everybody. And that way anything for everybody is for nobody. And so they took that minority program, the affirmative action program, made it a minority program. And said, now I want the affirmative action program to die for that reason. In 1999, I go down to Texas, and the program was written for black folk. I look at the amount of money in state contracts in Texas that year, and white women got 78%. And nobody in our black leadership, in our black overclass, and the black civil rights movement ever said, hold a second, how are you going to put white women into a minority, into an affirmative action program set up for black folk when she was right along with the white man? She co-owned, co-controlled, co-influenced, co-herited, and everything that the white slave owner had, she had it too. She sat in the same house, under the same table, slept in the same bed and raised his kids. How is she entitled to be competitive with black men or black people in the society? But our black leadership didn't say anything. So white women went into the affirmative action program and took it over and dominated it. That's why you go to check Coca-Cola about 3 years ago, Coca-Cola company, almost 66% of all the money on the minority program went to white women. And in Texas, white women got 78%, and Hispanics got 21%, and blacks got 0.9%. Because again, we don't know how to play the game. We keep buying into these myths about people, about these very broad, ambiguous groupings. And all of that stuff started immediately after the Civil War. See, the Civil War, what they never tell you, and when I'm coming to a point on this with immigration, that in 1865, the first civil rights law was written strictly and solely for black folk to reverse the Dred Scott decision, which says black people don't have any rights that anybody's bound to respect. So they wrote the Civil Rights Law of 1865 strictly and solely for black people. And Andrew Johnson vetoed it, and they came right back, a few liberal whites, and they wrote the 1866 Civil Rights Law. Again, said it's strictly for black folk. And the Civil Rights Law had nothing in the world to do what you talk about today about civil rights. That Civil Rights Law was written for three things, and Congressman Benjamin Hatch and Charles Sumner and Thaddeus Stevens, and what they said is this, that there's only two things that the black person could ever be in America. You're either going to be slaves or you're going to be free. But you will always be a slave in America unless the black person receives minimally 40 acres, a mule, and $100. And you never got it. Because so that tells you where you are now. Nothing has changed for you. And so in 1868, they passed the 14th Amendment. It says, well, at least if you're not going to give black folks something, you need to protect black folks' rights. And the law then said it is mandated upon all levels of government to use all necessary means to lift the badges and incidents of slavery off the shoulders of black folk. Nobody has done it. That is a law. And at that time, the Civil Rights Law said if you don't do it and you're in government, you go straight to jail, white or black. Nobody has carried out those civil rights laws to the present time that were written for black folk. The 14th Amendment says that black folk must be treated in a manner similar to the way whites are treated under equal circumstances, similar circumstances. And in 1873, some whites from New Orleans went and filed a lawsuit to use the 14th Amendment in the slaughterhouse case about the meat packers out in New Orleans. And in 1873, the United States Supreme Court came back and says whites cannot use those civil rights laws and cannot use the 14th Amendment because it was written strictly and solely to protect the rights and the freedoms of black people, people of African descent in America. When they said that in 1873, immediately the whole country exploded. And then the executive branch, the government, the judiciary with the courts, and the Congress got together and says, we got to end this right now. Because if black folk get smart and started using the civil rights laws and started using the 14th Amendment and started looking out strictly for themselves, they can be self-sufficient and competitive as a people. And they say what we got to do now is to broaden and to whiten those laws and pretend those laws were written for everybody. And if they're written for everybody, then black folk can't use them. See, that's how Barkey came up in 1968 and used the 14th Amendment in the medical school exams to say that there was a reverse discrimination against him. That's why you see all these reverse discrimination court suits all over the country, because black folk now have walked away from their rights. You see, anytime you want to be a minority, a poor person, or people of color, or diversity, multicultural, you walked away from your rights. You're not entitled to any benefits. You cannot justify having an affirmative action program, having a Black History Month, having reparations for black folk if you're using those very broad terms. Because the minute you say you're a people of color, or you're a minority, or you're diverse, what you're saying, there's no difference in the treatment of a black person in this country than an Eskimo or a Filipino just came in last week. And if there's no difference, then how are you going to demand something special or exception? How are you going to demand having a special week for black history? How are you going to demand to have reparations and affirmative action? When you go into the marketplace as a developer, promoter, you're not entitled to anything because you keep using the terms that says you're not anything different from anyone else. If your company is talking about diversity and multicultural and the minorities, you cannot justify going into the black community and looking for black consumers or having black dollars specifically set aside for black folk. You just wiped out your whole history, all the history and the mistreatment and the slavery of your own people and ancestors by saying, I'm a minority. And if I'm a minority, I'm no different from anyone else. And so my people have never learned how to play the game. They keep going into the marketplace in very broad, ambiguous terms, the concept that was used after the Civil War. And that's why we now keep talking about minorities. And so now we got a major problem in society that's going to wipe us out, immigrants coming into society. Because in 1970, for the first time, after the Civil Rights Movement was over, and there were some benefits coming to the table for black folk, those other groups figured it out. They figured out what my people hadn't figured out. See, because up to 1970, all the Arabs in this country, all the Hispanics in this country, they had, and then Asians in this country, they had been living with, marrying, and going to school with whites. On their driver's license, their immigration papers, they were classified as whites. But after the Civil Rights Act in 1970 and all these benefits for affirmative action came to the table, they say all we got to do is to break away from the people we've been getting benefits from and go against black folk. Now all these immigrants are coming out. They started in the 1970 census. They're now competing against black folk for resources. And they're going to wipe you out. Your leadership will not support you. They're all supporting more immigrants coming into the country. They're down on the border saying, y'all come on, come on. And they don't understand. Let me give you a couple of points, and I'm going to give you some strategies we're going to have to start using. They don't understand that for every 10% increase in immigrants into this country, the people that are hurt are primarily black folk. White corporations benefit, black folks suffer. For every 10% increase in immigrants in this country, black people lose 0.3% of their income. I'm going to give it to you again. For every 10% increase in immigrants coming into this country, it's been going on throughout society for over 100 years, black folk lose 0.3% of their income. Now, since 1970 alone in this country, when I just told you, when all of a sudden these groups broke out, they figured they can go to the United States now and get all kind of benefits. All they got to do is put one foot on the shore of America, and they're now entitled, they're now equal to black folk. They're equal to 400 years of suffering by black folk by just putting one foot in the United States. They're now entitled to go into affirmative action programs, get Social Security benefits, and get a free education and everything else. So since 1970 until the present time, the immigrants in this country have gone up over 400%. Now, if you multiply 400 times 0.3, it comes out to be 12%. Now, what's the impact of that? You go back and look at your census. You find out in 1950 when the Civil Rights Movement started, and it started over this issue that black folk were being underpaid. At that time in 1950, a typical white person in the United States was making $1. A black person was making 54 cents. That meant that a black person with a college education could not make as much as a white high school dropout. So a black person earned 54 cents to every dollar the white was earning. Now, because of the Civil Rights Movement, black folk then got some new opportunities going into government jobs and some white corporations. So our income went up during the 60s from 54 cents up to 66 cents. against a white dollar. By 1976, we went back from 66 cents back to 54 cents where we are now. Your entire civil rights gains in income was wiped out by immigrants coming into the country. Nobody's going to tell you that, but we're going to tell you through our think tank. Your whole income has been wiped out, and now the gap between the wealthy in this country is widening. The poverty rate is increasing, and most damagingly on blacks. So not only have you lost your income during the civil rights movement, let me show you what you lost. The number of people coming into the country, just black folk during that time, were struggling for voters' rights. They were being shot, lynched, whipped, and beaten, and bombed all through the South just for the right to go to the polls and vote. You just lost your voting power in this country. The immigrants wiped out your voting power. Your whole civil rights movement was a waste of time now, and those deaths were useless, futile. When in 1970, we outnumbered Hispanics, as an example, 2-1. They have now caught you and passed you. I predicted that in my first book, Black Labor, White Wealth. They'll catch you in the year 2000. They caught you exactly in the year 2000, right on the money. They now got 42 million in the country. You got 36 million. They can now outvote you on anything they want and block you on anything you want in the country. Now we got 14 to 20 million immigrants floating around this country, undocumented illegals, that the Congress is planning on giving amnesty to because white corporations want the cheap labor. Black folk are an obsolete labor class. They want some new labor. And so what they're going to do now is give them amnesty to 14 to 20 million. You add that 14 to 20 million to the 42 million you already got. That takes them up to almost 60 million Hispanics then in the country. Now, based on the 1986 immigration law, they then got a right to bring in their spouses, their children, and their parents. And we estimate that that'll bring in another 35 million Hispanics. They will then have 90 million to your 36. They will outnumber you 3-1 within 10 years. If you couldn't outvote whites, you haven't got a snowball's chance of outvoting Hispanics alone. Your vote was neutralized a long time ago. When I was running political campaigns for presidents back in '84 and for Carter in '76, and I ran it in Atlanta, Georgia in '88, and again for Clinton's deputy political strategy in '92, I knew then that the black vote was gone and dead. See, whites alone outnumber you 8-1. That means 8 will go over 1 at least 8 times with nothing left over. Your vote is only important in the powernomics principle when you vote as a majority. You must be the majority population. You cannot integrate and get economic power. You cannot integrate and get voting power. You must always try to figure out how to come together and aggregate to get your power. If you don't come together and become the majority population, your vote means nothing. If I throw a rabbit into a pen with 8 hungry bulldogs, the rabbit can vote all he wants about what they're going to have for dinner.
Seen part 1 of the compensatory code system concept. Like Lily Fuller says, is 9 areas of people activity. Okay, and those 9 areas of people activity are as follows: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and war. Those are the areas of activity. Let me say it again. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those are the 9 areas of racist white supremacy. So you might be stuck in religion, but wondering why your money ain't right, or the law ain't right. Because it's a system. That's what he's trying to tell us. It's a system. We can't fix or get nowhere because we focus on one thing. We religious trying to get rights. So we trying to get religion and law, right? In politics, because that go with the politicians make the law. So those are the 3 areas of Martin Luther King, right? But they practicing 9. They buy up the business. That's why they buy business and merge it, so they can control it. You know what I mean? It's a big system. So I'm telling you, I recommend getting Produce Justice. Go to producejustice.com rather, and purchase Mr. Neely Fuller book. Or you can get it on Amazon. He sells it on Amazon too. But get you the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Just to help you understand what's going on with white supremacy and why it is like it is. And then we can focus. You know what I'm saying? Once we get that understanding on how to counter it, it's like a new black code. How to counter it, how to deal with it, how to address it, how to get to the problem, cut through the bullshit, how to be constructive. Black people, we gotta be constructive with each other. If we ain't being constructive, let's keep it moving. I agree with the brother. This book is wonderful, and this is what I'm reading currently. But I'm telling you, fill your mind with knowledge, not that nonsense. Knowledge over nonsense. That's one of my new cool codes. Knowledge over nonsense. Alright, let's do that. 2017. We ain't got but 3 years. We want that half. It's gonna take us a half a year to get up to speed and know what's going on. As far as helping body, you know what I'm saying? Get off the meds, learn. We gotta be organic. Originally we didn't eat meat. Okay, so it's a transition. My family made the transition.
Peace, family. What's good? I'm here. This is Chizz coming at you. The title of this one is Can You Still Wake Up? Can you still wake up? And if so, how can we start this this beginning of waking up? How can we start that? And the first way we can start ourselves from waking up, or to begin to wake up, we have to let everything that we once thought we knew, we have to let that go in order for us to be woke and be willing to let new information come inside your acoustic records. Well, your acoustic records already have this information, but that just has to be woken up. Now, I don't know how you gonna ask me questions on this, or are you gonna
you just go in, then I'm just gonna jump in.
All right. Now, I don't even know where to start at, really.
But you was starting in the house, I kept stopping you, bro.
Yeah, cause see, I go off. See, when I be in the house, I be just so much. You can let this just keep riding though. You can I be going off of things that come up at that moment, and you know, there's so many things that come up when I'm just in the house, basically by myself. So, with you being there dialoguing with me,
right,
and you know, things just be hitting me. You know, I can't just be sitting in the house like talking to myself every time something come up, cause you know I'll go crazy sooner than later. But you know, that's the whole title. Can we still wake up? And I believe that we can wake up, but you know, we have to let some of these things go that we think that is helping us, but these things are not really helping us. They setting us back, and it is crazy. We already set back almost 600 some years, and now we even setting ourselves back more now because all this information is coming. And by all this information coming, not just to myself, it's coming around to brothers and sisters all around the planet. But you still also have those same docile brothers and sisters that don't want to listen to somebody that's trying to give them new information, because they think that the information that they have is the only information that's out there, or just the only information that they want to accept. You know what I mean? And me personally, I've been open to all types of information. I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience while I travel this planet that they call Earth.
So what is waking up?
Well, waking up basically is you tuning in to something else other than religion. Religion is something that you do every day. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to work every day, that's religion. If you go to church just on Sunday, that's religion. If you're not opening yourself up other than your religion, then you're never going to wake up, because these are the everyday things that you do.
Americans have a criminal history. They have a criminal nation. The nation is built on criminality and murder and exploitation. It is a part of their collective psyche. The United States is a mafia government. No one has done more damage and degradation and murder, rape, and robbery than Europeans. Yes. Therefore, in order to escape confrontation with their true criminal nature, they must accuse others of being criminals. What we call projection. They must become obsessed with the criminality of other people. And black folk become those other people, you see. What does Clinton Cox say? You called the Indians savages so you could behave toward them what? Savagely. That's the function of stereotyping, you see. If I call you a criminal, then I can treat you what? Criminally. I don't owe you justice. In fact, shooting you in the street is justice. We know you are already a criminal. Why should we bother to take you to trial? Yes, that's what it is. We're doing a service. We're saving the taxpayers' money. What have we lost? A criminal? What are you complaining about? Yeah, this is the deal. What does it mean then? When you can become, then often people, in order to escape certain problems, become obsessed with other issues to the point where they don't have time or the energy or anything else to think about anything else. They don't see anything else. So I can forget my self-hatred. I can forget my self-alienation if I concentrate on how much I love myself. But this is a bad kind of love, you see. It's not the right kind of love. If I concentrate on what? How great I am. If I concentrate on making other people see what? How great I am. You see? And therefore, my 24 hours a day, I'm obsessed by projecting my what? Greatness. And I will, but that greatness is coming out of what? Hatred and inferiority. And since I'm greater than everyone else, I must make everyone else superior, in what? Inferior to me. In fact, I can only love people who attest to my superiority. I can only love a woman who 24 hours a day maintains my superior ego and states that she is in need of leadership and guidance. And I'm her leader. I may be emasculated in the world, but in my house, I'm the king. And at any moment she indicates that I have feet of clay, I shall use them to stomp her. Yeah, this is the kind of thing we have here. Yeah, and it goes the other way too. You know, make me a goddess and lay at my feet all kinds of sacrifices. Yeah, yeah, live through me. And any moment that you don't hold this up, I'm going to react with anger and call you all kinds of names and problems. That's the issue of narcissism. Then you have the phallic character, flaunts his masculinity through success at work or conquest over women, constantly seeking confirmation of his potency. Identifies himself with his penis. Ultimately, though, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who's afraid of castration, who really thinks his balls have already been cut out from under him. Therefore, he needs a constant confirmation that he has them. Kind of reminds me again of the black and white video. What was that boy trying to grab down there between his legs? What are so many black men grabbing that all the time out there? Yes, seeing if it's there. Yeah, where is it? In other words, then, that relationship can move into a master-slave kind of relationship. A relationship that tries to use and exploit other people. A relationship that, in a sense, duplicates the social relationship that the man has. Don't worry about it, it'll be all right. At the end, you have people then who have a problem with lovability and are in constant need of reassurance. So what does this all imply? We don't have time to go into it all. What does it all imply? What does it roll out to be? It means then that if we are to transform the relationship between black males and black females and transform the nature of black life, period, we must transform the American system itself. Yeah, you can't get around that. Oh yeah, we have to if we are going to say that living in America, being black in America, creates a good deal of the problems that we have, then we must change America. as a part of changing what? The problems. Now, it doesn't mean that we focus outside of ourselves, because one of the best ways of changing America is by what means? Changing ourselves. I've told you before that we are not only the creation of whites, we also create them. That they cannot be what they are unless we are what we are. And therefore, if we engage in self-transformation, we engage in the transformation of the nation and ultimately in the transformation of the world.
Assalamu alaikum family, welcome back to the Brother Ben X Show. Today we're going to talk about crabs in a barrel. Many of us see black athletes and black entertainers get all these millions, all these billions of dollars. We wonder, why won't they come back and build houses, apartments? Why won't they come back and buy land? Why won't they come back and create jobs? Why all they do is give a recreation center here and there, do a little donation here and there? But why aren't they able to come back and make real change? You see brothers like Colin Kaepernick, who takes a kneel during the pledge. Why did they come on him so hard?
I mean, ultimately it's to bring awareness and make people, realize what's really going on in this country. There are a lot of things that are going on that are unjust, people aren't being held accountable for, and that's something that needs to change. That's something that this country stands for: freedom, liberty, justice for all. And it's not happening for all right now.
You see brothers like Lil Wayne. Why is he so adamant on saying, I don't know nothing about Black Lives Matter?
I am a young, black, rich. If that don't let you know that America understands Black matter these days, I don't know what it is. Don't come at me with that dumb man. My life matter, especially to my.
Do you separate yourself from it?
I don't feel connected to a damn thing that ain't got nothing to do with me. If you do, you crazy. You connected to this flag right. As I'm connected, I'm a gangbanger, man.
A couple years ago, Dwight Howard tweeted out "Free Palestine." Within a couple of seconds, he had to delete it and said he apologized for what he said. Why did he have to do that? Cat Williams started teaching truth within his comedy shows. Next thing you know, police always messing with him. So today, we're going to let the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan explain why this is happening.
If we look at the proverbial crabs in a barrel, the crabs are trying to get up, but another crab is pulling the crab down. Well, just suppose somebody is at the top of the barrel looking at the crabs, watching the drama of the crabs. And suppose he or she says, come, let us deal wisely with those crabs. Let's take a few out of the barrel and put them at the top of the barrel and let them look back down on the other struggling crabs.
Go ahead, Minister, go ahead.
If we do that, it will give the other crabs the notion that they too can get out.
Go ahead.
But the crab that's at the top of the barrel didn't get out because of his own talent and ability alone. The crab got out because the master took him out and allowed him out for the master's purpose. Now let's look at the wealthy and the famous among us. No. I'm not here to knock our wealthy and our famous. I love them. But I want us to look at them. And I want them to look at themselves. Now, if we look at the Oprahs, the Cosbys, the Jay-Z's, Kimura, Lee Simmons and the Fab Lane and all of our beautiful sports and entertainment figures that are now multi-millionaires. Yeah. Every one of these have good hearts, and every one of these are trying to do some good to give back to their communities. And that is an effort that we must applaud. But sorry about that. The man that owns the barrel could have pulled all the crabs out. But he gave only a few a doorway out so they could sell to the others the lie that they too can get out. And they have become a buffer between the angry black masses and white people of power and influence that got us looking at our own rich as though they've betrayed us, when the wise demons behind them have used them as a buffer to protect them from the anger of the wise or the poor white, the poor black, the poor brown. Yes, sir. Now,
to you?
Queer is, to me, is an umbrella term that incorporates folks who are outside of the heterosexual norm and the what we call heteronormativity, which is a big word for relationships. Marriage is just between a man and a woman. It's the patriarchal family as we understand it. What's important to us in Black Lives Matter is that we are elevating and cultivating the leadership of folks who have not been included in the conversation. That includes Black trans women, that includes Black immigrant women, Black disabled folks, Black incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. So to us, right, we're really trying to queer our movement. We know even in our tradition and our legacy of Black liberation that queer and trans folks have been in the leadership, however, have had to kind of cut pieces of themselves off because it wasn't acceptable. Baird Rustin being an incredible example of that. Audre Lorde being an incredible example of that, right? We want to create a different kind of movement culture. We think it's important, we think we need it, and we don't think that we can survive without it.
So I hear that and I think, fantastic, the more the better.
What we have today is a situation where every one of our young people are under siege because now whites are paying for the new Uncle Tom that you were talking about before. Who is the new Uncle Tom of our time? The pedophile and the homosexual, who whites are paying to violate our sons and violate our daughters and pull them into cultural degeneracy to destroy black families. When a black female is so confused that she doesn't know that the problem made is a black male, you don't have to worry about a revolution. You don't even have a family to produce a child to even have a revolution. So what we have right now is a state of emergency.
The FBI did not send it. That's what I'm trying to say. I was like, you said she said nothing hard to say, right? FBI did not send it. Start right there. Let me start there because I just want to see a little more understanding that some of these boys and girls are victims of a large system as a whole. And
you said you want to see acceptance?
I personally think.
What does acceptance mean?
You can accept. You don't have to say that you're going to promote it, be okay with it, in a sense, but not.
We're not going to accept it.
Against.
We're against it.
I understand you are against it.
Okay, we're not going to accept it. We're not going to accept anybody who accepts it.
What are you trying to get them to accept, Jack?
Homosexuality.
Not necessarily just saying. It doesn't just say accepting homosexuality.
Not just accepting homosexuality. So accepting homosexuality and what else?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that accepting the full system the full everything that's happened to everybody. And she
What's this? I don't think.
Well,
Wait.
hold on.
I need everybody to come. I'm gonna see how this thing works.
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
They ask you a very simple question.
Very
What specific thing do you want? You said acceptance, and it's a simple question.
Right.
We're not being hostile here. Wait a
The
minute.
crack dealer, because you have to understand.
Who in here
that
accept crack dealers in your community and think that it's right to do so? Wait a minute.
That's not what I'm saying.
You need to chill out before I need you to chill out. I'm asking a simple question, right? Because see, we got to see how this thing works. Who in here accepted as acceptable to sell crack in the black community? Wait a minute. Who accepted as being acceptable to sell crack to black people? Raise your hand, please. Who said it is unacceptable to sell crack to our people? Please raise your hand. Okay. All right. So she said those of us the same way we accept crack dealers. Do we accept? Wait a minute. Stop. Straight black pride. Do we accept crack dealers in our community?
No, sir.
Are we going to accept homosexuality in our community?
No, sir.
Are we going to accept pedophiles in our community?
No, sir.
So your interests here are no longer useful, sister. So what do you want to do? We can stop. You can stop. Wait, you can stop right here. Well, you might be misinterpreted, but you got a choice. You can stop.
I'm here as
Go ahead.
Here we go, please. Can I say something?
No. Don't get his name. You're going to say nothing until she leaves, then we can talk. We talk about the family. Yep. Yeah, we all do that. Let me just stop, because this is what I want to do.
There's guys and folks.
Yeah, you know. And this is the thing. I want to say before I do it. I know some people are like, I didn't know that right. This is what happens. Homosexuals send in plans to disrupt and take us off of what we're talking about. So we have a whole list of videos that goes into everything she was talking about the feminization of the black male. We have racism. Everything she's talking about already exists in terms of that. What we did here, and I'm kind of glad that happened, because we got to understand something. First of all, if you were listening to it from the very beginning, it was obvious where she was going, but you might not have heard it.
Yeah, that's right. I heard
but you don't want to jump out in front because other brothers and sisters might not know where it's going.
Right.
So you got to be patient and wait for them to expose themselves. So once she said acceptance, now we don't want to get into no long debate. That's why I stopped my brother. We don't want to debate. What do you want us to accept? Now she has to show what her real agenda is. And that's when we got to start getting cool and be quiet. Ain't nothing for us to talk about. Once she exposes who she is, it's nothing for us to debate her about. We're straight black pride. We believe in black men, women, and children coming together and producing families. There's nothing for us to debate with homosexuals, except where the door is. So she found a door. There's nothing she can help us do while she's here. And then we move on with the discussion. But this is important, because when the homosexuals are meeting to push that agenda, do we go to their meeting?
Know where they're going.
We don't even know. If we did know, would we go? We don't want to be in that environment, right? But when we're here talking about, look at the brother back in the back holding his beautiful queen, and he got his sons with him, my wife over there with the children. We in a family environment. This is a friendly, peaceful thing. And we're talking about trying to do some other stuff. They're here to create disruption, and they're dishonest. But they're dishonest. I want you to hear this. It's very important. They're dishonest. She didn't say, I'm against what you all are doing. I want you to accept homosexuality. No. She tried to pretend like she was our friend. And then, at the end of it, try to pull us into it. So we got to start becoming a little more sophisticated. But she did say something I want to bring up to her, and it goes to what the brother was saying. I really want to talk to what you said. But it goes to something she was saying. One of the things we're doing, we've got all these DVDs with all this in-depth information. All that stuff is great. But when you talk about actually fixing problems, and this is what we saw when we got with African unification, we could just sit down in a room and talk about something like the school system, and I'll be honest with you, I knew stuff was bad, but these are real stories from real people. Even me, I was sitting in the room like, man, I got to hold it together. This is some serious stuff. So what we said is, you know what? This is a whole other approach, and it's free. People got to pay for the DVD. They don't have to pay for this. So we said, not only are we doing this, but we thought about it after we did this. I got to ask you all, though, did you really enjoy that? Was it useful?
Yes, sir.
Was it something that you would share with your friends and family on the internet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is what we want to do from this point. So we got all these people. Here's what we want. We want to do it in Philly. We want to do it in Richmond. We want to, but not just this one. We want to do one on all these different issues that we're dealing with. We have the lectures to show the problem, but what about the people talking about it? What about sexual abuse in the black community? Can we have a similar conversation? That'll be a tough one, where we all sit down in the room and say, let's talk real. And then person say, well, my father did this to my sister or this, and we just keep it real about what's going on and have
Wonderful. All right, I'm a human being. But where is your humanity to my people, the black people? When have you shown humanity to black people? Yes, I'm a human being. But when did you recognize that? Was it after they wrote in the American Constitution that I am only 3/5 of a human being? Was it while I was a slave?
Can I say something?
Was it while you were exploiting my people in Africa? Is it while you showed... Hold on.
Can I answer?
This is not an argument.
No, can I answer?
Is it? No, you can ask me a question when it's questions and answers. Is it? When did I become a human being?
Come on.
Was it while you were showing me on the television? Was it while you were showing me on the television? Dead and stiff, with flies in my mouth. Was that when I was a human being? When did I become a human being in your eyes? Was it while you were exploiting my people in Africa over 300 years under apartheid?
Still go.
Was I a human being then, and it's still going on today? When did I become a human being? Was it 20 years ago when you said that you would give the land back to the black people in Zimbabwe? And today, 20 years later, we are forced to take it.
And you lie.
Because you're still denying the humanity of black people in Zimbabwe.
Come on.
When did I become this human being?
Break it down.
And I'm telling you, man, you want black people to love you? We will never love you until you show, till you prove that you are indeed a human being. And so far, we have not seen 1 ounce of humanity from you and your people. And I'm telling you this, we will never back down from this, because we know what we're dealing with. And you can talk the nice words as long as you like, but we see through your actions, because action speaks louder than words. So we get these white people, oh, I'm a good person, I don't believe in all of that racism or whatever. You know, we're all the same. Yeah, nice words. But look at the world in which we live. To this day in Africa, my people are living in tin shacks, while your people live in high-rise luxury in Africa. My people in Australia living in shacks on drugs and alcohol provided by you and your people, while you live on Bondi Beach in high-rise luxury. To this day, in the Indian subcontinent, same thing. Everywhere you go on the planet, same thing. And so, until you do justice by my people, not give me no platitudes and lip service, then I can't love you. Because even if your own mother ill-treats you as a human being, you are not required by God to love that woman who you came from, her womb. But if she will ill-treat you, it will disallow you to be able to love that which hurts and maims you and does harm to you, even though it be your own kith and kin. And so, I love those who I know as an actual fact are in the program of reform that would help me to come up as a man and help my people to come up as human beings, that we might enjoy our humanity, freedom, justice, and equality among ourselves. And this...
You're talking about guaranteeing that every black person has a roof over your head. That's number one. I mean, for several generations, you have to guarantee that. Why? Because you took away stuff for many generations, uncounted generations. So you have to guarantee the things that you took. You took away education, the ability to get an education. We're still arguing about education even now. You know, how many black people are you going to educate, and how are you going to educate them? What are you going to teach them? And then when they learn what you teach them, how can they use it? Where are they going to use it? That's being arguing right. That's a big argument right now. That's going on in 2014. We shouldn't be having this argument. It shouldn't even be a discussion. Every black person that walks out of a school should know exactly what they're going to be doing and how much tons of money going to be coming in as a result of doing it, rather than wandering around, wondering where they're going to get a job or how they're going to pay off a student loan. This is absolutely horrendous. This is terrible when you think of it in the perspective of everything that's been taken. So no. An apology? No, absolutely not. We don't even know what that is. We're talking about repair work, a huge repair program, a program that just goes on and on and on and on and on until you make up for everything that you took.
What up, fam? Every now and then I get frustrated. When I say I get frustrated with my life, y'all life, and our perceptions of life. I was talking to a brother yesterday. He said, "Well, at least you free. At least you did it." I said, "Brother, I ain't free." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "How I'm free?" I said, "On the way over here, if I drive 5 miles faster than I want to drive, I can receive punitive damages." What you mean you free? Huh? If you cook your motherfucking steak raw, you gotta cook it as raw as they say it's raw. Your food. White folks control any and every aspect of our life. They set the standard. They set the norm for everything. If you want to chop down wood with an axe, you must build your motherfucking log cabin the way they say build it and register it downtown. You understand? What you mean you free? Some of us cannot piss before 9:15. We get to work at 7, clock in, sit down in the cubicle, and the white man said, "You cannot piss before 9:15. If you get hungry, you cannot eat before 9:15. If you need to take a fucking aspirin or change your fucking tampon, you better sit in this fucking desk and bleed to 9:15, nigga. What you mean you free? Huh? We not free. They control every aspect of our lives. And the sad thing about it, we don't realize they control these fucking white folks' lives too. The only people free is that top 1% of bald-headed, fucked up teeth, gay white men. They the only motherfuckers in this country free. I can't raise my kids the way I want to. What you mean we free? You can't pull your kid out of school without giving them a motherfucking sheet of paper that says, how you gonna educate them? The fuck you mean you free? Huh? What do we mean we free? We can't turn a fucking light on without them. Huh? We free. Ain't nobody in this country free but them. Shit got me bugging out. I got to thinking about it extra hard. Extra hard. I don't deal with none of them. Work for myself. I ain't no fucking free. I'm not free. Huh? Way I feel walk around the store shopping. Motherfuckers following me around. I'm free. Huh?
Hurry up and buy.
You free. You better wake up and live as best as you can within bondage. And that entails us doing for us, and it starts by educating our own children. Fuck you mean you free, nigga?
Whatever your philosophy and ideology is of your organization, stay right with your organization. Just accept black nationalism as your major goal and objective. He said if you're in the church, stay right in the church and organize in the church. You don't have to leave the church. We want to build an African United Front. We want revolutionary Christians. We want revolutionary Muslims. We want revolutionary black Hebrews. We want revolutionary Yoruba. We want revolutionary black men and women who believe in the principles of Mayat and study ancient Kemet. We want revolutionary atheists. We want revolutionary agnostic. We want revolutionary socialists. We want revolutionaries no matter what school or movement or organization you come from. We must build an African United Front. And we must accept revolution. We must accept liberation. We must accept freedom and independence as our primary goals and objectives. And in building such an African United Front, there are rules that we must adhere to. We can't backbite each other. We can't talk against each other. We have to control this. In building an African United Front, you got to control your tongue. You can't be quick to fly off the handle and say something with loose lips about your brother, about your sister, who is a part of that African United Front that you're building. You got to be careful and guard your words, guard your mouth, and make sure that you don't backbite, I repeat, your brothers and your sisters.
The white supremacists have a code. That's my answer. That's why I've tried to have a counter code, meaning a code of what? Thought, speech, and action. See, the lady was correct. I think if what she was saying was just words alone won't do it. No, words cause people to act. But people have to act on the words that are being said. Now, I have asked black people using words to not celebrate anything, ever, until this problem is solved, called racism. That's a big thing to ask black people to do. I mean, that's over the top. I mean, that brings about instant pain, because black people like to celebrate every 5 minutes worldwide. We find any excuse to celebrate. And this has worked against us. We should not be a celebratory people. We're not qualified. Get something to celebrate first, then celebrate. You even have some football players, and I've seen some of them do it, and I've heard of others, black football players, who run down the field and throw the ball down before they get to the end zone because they're so intent on celebrating. Black people shouldn't celebrate, they should meditate. You know, all these days that are set aside for all of this celebration, balloons and all that type of thing, no. Dancing and shaking and going on and whatnot, no. I know it's a tradition, but we should examine traditions. Traditions are supposed to do something, like improve your conditions. Black people's conditions all over the world are absolutely awful, and all the celebrations haven't helped. All it did was just put aspirin, or you might say put a Band-Aid temporarily, just almost like a drug, like cocaine. It just hides the problem. We're not qualified to celebrate. That's right in your face. I underline the word qualified. What qualifies people to celebrate? When they have something to celebrate. Well, black people haven't qualified to celebrate. We should put that burden on ourselves by our own evaluation. I'm not talking about waiting on somebody else to evaluate us. We should evaluate our performance against what? Against all the problems that we have. And we should come up after that evaluation and say in one voice, you know what? We're not qualified to celebrate anything. Look at our condition. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at our schools. Look at the long lines, of unemployed people. And we are celebrating? No, we haven't done the work yet that calls for a celebration, just like any football player will tell you. Recently I heard some football players just this past weekend saying, hey, we got to do better. This is unacceptable. They were saying that. Now, we can understand that if we're talking about football, but we don't apply it to anything else. See, we don't have time to be, singing and dancing and whatnot. This is not singing and dancing time. Sing and dance after we get the work done, which means after there's no more racism. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. No singing and dancing until there's no more racism. Suppose every black person on the planet said that in one voice. Just saying that would cause alarm among the white supremacists if we said it in a minute. Black people don't sing and dance. They don't celebrate anymore. And if they sing, they're singing what they call patriotic songs about justice and etc. They're not just singing just to be singing, just to make noise. They're no longer in the noise business. They don't go to concerts and say, everybody make some noise. It's almost like a standard slogan. No. We're not going to make noise. We're going to make music. And music is different from noise. Music causes people to think constructively. And we are going to be in a constructive mode from here on in, starting with right now. And we're not celebrating birthdays because we already had a birthday. And since then, we've been having slow death days. So let's get on some life days. And the way you do that is to produce a product called justice, and the world is crying out for it. Now, you can have fun doing it. A lot of black people bring it up to me all the time. Well, when do you have fun? You can have fun doing something constructive. Black people have been programmed to think that you have fun by falling down drunk and getting run over by a car. Now, that's fun. We got to get out of that type of thinking. Or lying somewhere in an alley with a needle in our arm, in a heap of trash. That's fun. That's what we call fun. Why? Because the white supremacists said, this is some excellent fun for you people. And then they demonstrate some of it themselves to lead us into it. Anything that's non-constructive, that's what they said it should be reserved for black people calling fun. If it's got anything constructive about it, it's not supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be work. It's supposed to be drudgery. It's supposed to make you very unhappy. If it's anything constructive about it, it's supposed to make you unhappy. But something that's pure pure stupidity, something that's pure foolishness, something that's very wasteful, then that's what is supposed to be designated. Put a big sign on it. This is what you call black fun. Something that is totally non-constructive. Something that's not going to help anybody do anything that makes sense. But that's supposed to be fun for black people. And we have bought into it, wholesale, worldwide. And all we have to do is just make up our minds to stop it, and it doesn't take practice. That's another thing. People say it takes a long time to get that way. No, you just make the decision today. And also, another big thing that I repeat over and over again, don't pick up that cell phone or that app or whatever and contact anybody unless you have something constructive to say. So black people will become some of the most silent people in the world because we are not used to constructive conversation. We're so used to what we call jive talking just to be heard. And they're standing in the middle of the sidewalk getting attention, by, talking as loud as we can. Want everybody to pay attention to us. And then when we get everybody's attention, we don't have anything constructive to say. And our record proves it. So we can just go silent and do some meditating and do some constructive thinking. The textbook workbook says thought, then speech, then action, and make every last one of them constructive. Black people shouldn't contact not a relative, not a distant friend, not a sorority member or fraternity member, unless you have something constructive to say or do. And since I just mentioned something about fraternities, this nonsense about hazing, I want to say something about it right now, the night that I thought about it. How in the world did black people ever adopt anything like that? Anywhere. You're going to beat on somebody in order to be initiated, you say, into an organization? When black people have been beat on ever since there's been black people on the planet. Beat all across the Atlantic slave trade. Beat, Kunta Kinte, over and over again. And then you just, in a sophisticated university, you're going to say something about, well, we have to initiate you by taking you through some trials of being beat on and humiliated and treated like a dog. No, it should be just the opposite. You should welcome the person into the fraternity by showing them all the constructive things that you do and tell them to embrace all of that. That's if you're doing anything constructive in the first place. Otherwise, you don't have any business having a fraternity. If you're not doing anything constructive, if you're just showing out, enough of that. Black people don't have any license to show off. Nothing. Our record is not good enough to show off anything. Your house, your car, your jewelry, your talents, anything. You use them to try to produce a product called justice. Don't spend 5 minutes showing off anything, because most of what you get that you show off, and that's in the book under one of the 4 show-offisms, you get it from the white supremacists anyway. So what are you showing off? Your ability to get something from them? The only reason you got it is because they let you have it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have it. Kill, kill, kill. Find another black person, walk around, looking around, looking around, looking around, spotting another black person 2 blocks away.
Don't fuck with me!
Gravitate toward that person and find a reason to kill that person. We had an incident right here in Washington just a week or so ago where that old adage, that old, you might say, part of what you call black culture, what are you looking at me for? What are you looking at me for? I'll kill you, black person that looks just like me, because you looked at me. Now, white people look at you all day. White people look at you all day, or, you know, or they don't look at you because they don't even notice you because you're not that important. But here's some black person that you say, he's looking at me. What is he doing looking at me? And that's after going out of your way with a lot of us, let's tell the truth now, to get attention. Doing everything you can to get attention. And then when somebody gives you the attention, what are you looking at me for? You don't know me. And then bang, because that's what happened the other day. Bang, bang, bang. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Person who looks like me. Why? Because you looked at me. That's why. I will kill you because you looked at me. Now, what is the look supposed to do? Well, you looked at me. Well, what has looking at you got to do with anything? Well, I don't know. I don't know why I do anything. I'm black. I ain't got no reason for what I do. I just do stuff. Just walk around on the street all day like a zombie, looking for something to do, and usually it's something that makes no sense at all. Now, that's not all black people by any means, particularly throughout the entire world, but in the Northwestern Hemisphere, that's a part of the culture that's been passed on. I heard stuff like that back in the early 1940s at least. And apparently, Marcus Garvey knew all about it back in the 1920s. This is 2016. We need to examine what we call black culture in fine detail and stop skirting around it and find out exactly what is the root cause of all of this. Of course, the root cause, in my opinion, is a system of white supremacy, which teaches black people that what you want to do in your life is find a reason to hurt yourself and other black people as much as you possibly can if you got color in your skin. That's the message that the white supremacists send to black people, particularly young black people, about their future. What you want to do with your life, since you don't have an idea of what to do anyway, I'll tell you, is find somebody that looks like you, try to hurt them as much as you can, and in the process hurt yourself as much as you can, and just get the hell out of our way. Because we're the only people that really count. The white people who believe in white supremacy.